Hi, my name is Chad Stotler. I'm the local history librarian at the Westlake Porter Public Library in Westlake, Ohio, a western suburb of Cleveland. Today is October 25th, 2018, and we are conducting this interview at, what's the name of the?
East Park.
East Park in Brook Park, Ohio, which is also a western suburb of Cleveland. It is my pleasure to be interviewing today veteran John Cesear, and also in the room with us is his nephew Dominic Straffolano, and as I said before, my name is Chad Stotler. So, Jack, could you tell me where your parents were born?
They were born in Cleveland.
Okay, and what were their names and what did they do?
Well, one was, my mother was Lucy Myers, and she was born on the west side. My dad was born on the east side, and they met at Joseph and Feist's, a factory, like a sewing machine factory.
Okay.
And my dad was a veteran of World War I. He was disabled to a modicum amount, but he could still work. And my mother, she stayed home and took care of the family. And while her dad was a carpenter, my grandfather was a carpenter, and she had to take care of the kids. There were two more, Bill and John,
No,
my uncles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was the master of the house. In those days there were no policemen. So her dad, before he left, he says, "Now Lucy, you're going to be in charge. Here's my rifle." And he said, if they try to come in, don't bother with them. Fire a warning shot. And he said, if they do come in, don't hesitate, because they don't mean any well doing for you. That's what she had to put up with. There were no cops then so far. So she had a rough life.
And this was here in Cleveland?
She lived here in Cleveland.
Where
On the west side.
West side, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have any siblings? And if so, what were their names?
Oh yes, I had a brother, Don. He's gone now. And a brother, Bill. He's gone. But I'm the oldest, and I'm still here.
And did they serve in the military also?
What?
Your brothers, did they serve in the military also?
My dad was wounded 3 times in World War I, and they tried forever to get a decoration for him, but that was a different era.
Mm-hmm.
It was Depression, and it never came to anything. But he in those days they fought from trenches, and they would send a patrol out to get information. They happened to meet in no man's land. So my dad was bayoneted 3 times, and then they finally got to him, and they were going to take him to the morgue. And he had a sheet over, and he just happened to raise his finger. They said, "Hey, this guy's still alive. Back up." So he had quite a life too. And then when he survived the war, the Depression, and he went to the Soldiers and Sailors Relief, and he got no more there. They called him, that time the Army was looked with disdain. Another Army bum, they said. Dad said, "You said what?" He said, "I was proud to serve my country. How dare you say that?" And the guy said, what are you going to do? Dad opened up a window. "One more dumb crack," he said, "you're going out."
So now I'd like to...
That's a true story.
Oh, I'm sure it is. So now I'd like to talk about your early days in the service. What were you doing before you entered the Army?
I was just an 18-year-old kid, and then I was 19 when I entered the Army. I worked in a supermarket. Just a kid.
What did you do in the supermarket?
Well, I arranged the vegetables in different sections. It was one of the first where they expanded. Now they got supermarkets that you need a motor. But then it was just a common expanded neighborhood deal.
Okay.
So I had to keep my grades up. And I would leave school, forget the study halls, as long as I maintained a good average. And then from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, I worked at the supermarket. And then when I got home, I gave my mother the money because my dad was wounded in the First War, and it was different then. They fought all their life to get a pension for him, but it never did work. It was a different era. That depression was a terrible thing. And I try to do what I could to help them.
How long did you work at the supermarket?
Fortunately, it wasn't that long, because I had gone down after Pearl Harbor, and I went down to enlist. And they said, "Oh, geez, you ought to finish school." This is one of the guys that was interviewing me. He says, "How long you got?" I said, "About a month." He says, "Oh, finish school, and then you can enter the service then." And that's exactly what I did.
And did you choose the Army, or was it chosen for you? Did you choose to enter the Army, or did you...
Well, my dad was in the service.
Okay.
And I admired my dad. I wanted to be just like him. He was a great man.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was too. I was very fortunate.
So you had no thoughts about the Navy
And
or the Marines?
my dad, he used to tell me about, he was with General Blackjack Pershing. And they fought on the border of Texas. And they chased Pancho Villa.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about him?
Yes, I have.
And I said, "Dad, why didn't you pick him up? We knew we were going to be in the war, and that was good maneuvers." That General Pershing was quite a guy.
Mm-hmm.
They were on a first name basis.
Your father and the general.
Oh yeah, no, and they were tough. I was so proud of him. And I wanted to be like him, and I think I was to a degree. You know, you could have a lot of money, and if you don't have the right parents to guide you, and I was taught the greatest thing you can do for your country, and my dad was a patriot, if there ever was one. Serving your country is the highest honor you can achieve.
So you, so after you enlisted, what was it like when you departed for training camp? What was sort of the feeling?
I was well prepared.
Okay.
They would come to me, and then Sergeant Bouchard, a French Canadian, took a liking to me, and he said, first then it was Corporal Cesear. Detail them in. I said, "How many?" "How many do you think?" I said, "Where are we going to go?" "We're going to go to this German town, and you're going to be the constabulary." So he said, "About 6. So we got a box of, for a week, 10-in-1 rations. And I posted the men at different points in the town. And I said, "Now nobody gets through unless they have a pass." "Where do you get the pass?" I said, "From SHAEF. That's Supreme Headquarters, American Expeditionary Force." Oh, so I had that to deal with. Then the Russians come in. And Americanti, we go through. No, I said, "You don't go through." He says, "Oh, goodbye." So I dropped my M1, bang, 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 right over there. "You shoot at me." I said, "No, I shoot over you." When I say stop, halt, you halt. "Oh, okay." They were going to raid the place. And they even had a story on TV about Merkers, Germany, where Hermann Goering, that big fat Nazi, he raided Europe with everything decent. And I had to guard that, because we're going to try to get it back to the rightful owners, which unfortunately for them were Jews, and they just thought they could do whatever they want. And I had to tell him, one guy, he's going in there, they're just Jews. I said, what do you mean they're just Jews? They're human beings, you moron. And he says, you didn't have to yell at me. I said, yes, I did. I had no use for people that had that attitude. Those poor things, they suffered terribly because of that. Now I'm German descent, and a lot of them try to use that on me. But you're German. I said, no, I said, I'm American. Let's get that straight. I'm German of German descent, but that's it. I said, they want to add another one. I got another country that hates your guts. That's Poland. That was part Polish or part German. I really had a heritage, didn't I?
Now, when you joined the military, when you enlisted in the Army, what was training like for you? Where did you go for your basic training?
Fortunately, I had a father that took care of me, and in a lot of cases, he briefed me what it was going to be like in the Army. Now he said, rule number one, if there's a problem and the commanding officer in that detail comes to you and says, what happened here? Dad says, your answer is, have no idea, sir. What do you mean you have no idea? Exactly what I said. I said, I'm not a snitch, and I said, you'll have to find out yourself. I said, those are my friends, and I said, I will not do that for my friends. Well, okay, and then that was that one. So, fortunately, when I was interviewed later, they said you did the right thing. So, that's about the stint of it.
Do you remember what had happened?
That had to happen right during the middle of the war. I graduated from high school at the 18th and 19th. I'm in the Army. That was 1942.
Where did you go for your basic training?
It was in, part of it was in California. It was, what was the name of that barracks? Camp Han. And right across from us was March Field, an Air Force unit. And now it's March Air Force Base. But then it was March Field. And then from there we moved up to Merrick Dry Lake, which is now Edwards Air Force Base. And we were put under strict orders. Nobody gets in and out. And that's what I had to enforce. From there we moved down to Texas. And we, from California to Merrick Dry Lake, down to Texas. And we had quite a time down there. From there, somebody said, we're on hot alert. What do you mean? I said, we're ready to go. I said, we just got here. We're getting ready to go. And all the German and Italian prisoners had a big grin on their face. And they were waving at us. I said, well, you guys, we're going to go into the cauldron, and they're going to be here. Mm-hmm. That didn't go well with me. But I worked through it.
And then where did you ship out of to Europe? Did you leave like from?
Camp Shanks. Camp Shanks, and I was on the high seas going across the pond to the invasion just started. I was out on the seas for 6 days before we found out that the invasion happened.
So this is in June,
D-Day.
June of '44.
So we landed at D-Day +6. Took us that time to get out. And when we bounced out of our, well, they couldn't even put them up too much on the shore because they had snipers. They had to clean out the snipers. And then I was part of that. And they said, I'm right off the boat. And they said, okay, get your M1 and get it ready and then try to keep this beach secure. We just captured it. So that's about it. My service, it was right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a 19-year-old kid. I keep thinking, yeah. So I was very proud I was able to do that. And they were tough to fight, but they surrendered. Then we had to go into Germany. And we met at Torgau, the Russians. And then we had would you believe it? They wanted to push us out of our position. Maybe a rookie or a buffy, we used to call him, but not us. So they start shooting at us.
The Russians.
We brought up what we called a anti-aircraft unit. Had 4 50 caliber Brownings. One burst, and they had a colonel or something come, you shoot at us. I said, you didn't combine your answer and frame it right. You were in my territory, not yours. You stay over there and I'll stay here. Oh, but they did. You had to show them. They hated weakness. You showed a little bit of weakness, you had trouble. Tough job for a kid. I grew up fast.
While you were receiving your training, did you receive any specialized training, or were you trained as an infantryman only?
Oh, well, yeah, we covered it all. We had one unit where we had to crawl under 3 layers of barbed wire on our belly while they fired a Browning machine gun right about a 1.5 foot over our head. And I come out of that and I said, wow. And the guy said, yeah, it's a good thing you're here. And they had a smirk. What are you laughing? Oh, you were right by that rattler. That snake. I said, you tell me you. And I grabbed my rifle, bang, bang, bang. Exit the snake. I don't like snakes. And then we just waited there until we got other orders. And little by little, we inched up. We finally met the Russians at Torgau. Had a little bit of fracas there because they thought they were boss of the whole thing. And we had something to prove. Now, a rookie regiment probably would have gave in. We didn't give in. As long as we were obeying our orders, fortunately, we had one of the best during our maneuvers. Lieutenant Jalbert of West Point, and he was not a man to trifle with. In fact, they said, the lieutenant wants to see you, Jack. Went down. He says, first of all, I'm sending in a commendation for your action and derailing that little fracas you had. I said, well, thank you, sir. He says, no, I said, that isn't what I wanted. How would you like to go to West Point? Wow. I said, could you give me a time to think about it? Yes, I will. So a few days later after that, I was lucky. I was mustered out of the service, and I made it home. And then I get a call, and he told me who it was. And he said, it's still open. Give me a call, and I'll send an Army vehicle for you. I thought about it, and I said, Lieutenant, can I have a little bit more time? Yeah, take your time. And then afterwards, I turned it down. I could have went to West Point.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, tell them
But I wanted out.
Tell them about your artillery training.
What?
Tell them about your artillery training.
With the Russians?
No. The artillery.
Oh.
Your training for the artillery.
No, the Battle of the Bulge.
Well, no, the training though. Tell them about the training in Texas for the artillery.
The artillery?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we had a group of British survivors of El Alamein. You've probably heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to show us how to fight. And then one of the guys says, "I already show them what to do." So they brought a tank, simulated tank. And they said, "Okay, on my command, open fire, tank." Boom! There goes the tank and the tracks, the whole bit. So finally, they ring out another one. And they said, "Okay, ready?" And then I was on azimuth, and another guy was on right. And we'd say, "Ready, ready, 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 ready. Fire! Bang!" There goes another one. So finally they gave up. And the colonel, he was like going, "That's my boys." Everybody that was part of that action now has got a 3-day pass.
And that was in Texas as part of the
Texas.
artillery training.
The Texas, you get your rations, and you look at it, and oh boy, these don't look too bad. Coated with sand. And you had to scrape off your sand. My teeth were like this for months. Sand. Every time we wanted to eat, the sandstorm had to blow up, and that's not nice.
I can imagine. Once you got into the Army, how did you adapt to military life? Did you find it...
Fortunately, I had a dad who was in it. He was wounded 3 times, too. And he gave me all that. And remember, if they ask you what the problem is, who did it? I have no idea, sir. Don't you have any idea? No excuse, no nothing, sir. They like that. So that went off. That was good too. They don't like a whiner. The answer they want is no excuse. That's what I gave them. No excuse. The Army's got to run on, and they can't be just good catering to every guy that they have. So I made up pretty good. I adapted. Some guys, they were what we call Section 8s. They just didn't belong. Mm-hmm. Then they had to get them out. And I'll never forget Clyde Ganung and Clifton A. Jones. Oh boy, they had a clip in the Army newspaper. It was called Yank. And inside they had the sad sack. A guy that was a hopeless draftee. And that's what we had. In real life, they finally got rid of him. Because if they would come in on a Saturday morning, you'd stand inspection, outdoor. Your rifle had to be clean. They'd swing it up and they'd look at it. Okay. Then you got your rifle down. Then they go inside your barracks. And the guy would drop a quarter on your bed. And if it didn't bounce, gig. If it bounced, okay. So it was tough, but good.
What was it like living in the barracks with all those other guys?
You got along with them. If you didn't, because you're a dummy. We got along.
Very little privacy too, I imagine.
Yeah, but one guy put a bunch of bricks in my bed, and I was looking, what the heck? And here's these bricks. Finally, I said, "I'll fix you." I waited after a while, and boom! Wow! Hey, who did that? I think it's Caesar down there. What are you doing? I said, "You smart guys put a bunch of bricks in my bed. Well, you're going to get them back." Oh, what do you mean get them back? I said, "Every 15 minutes you're going to get them." Stop it. We won't do it anymore. You had to fight them underground. You couldn't whine. You settled it yourself. And unfortunately, I could box a little. So they asked me, "Hey, would you want to go in for the battalion unit?" I said, "Okay." So after the guy got, he forgot that I used to do all of that in civilian life. So I got him in 1, 2, boom, down. He's looking up at me. Okay, I waited. He come up, gives me another one. I jogged that, boom. Okay, that's it. Go on, get out of here.
What was food like in the Army? What was the food like in the Army?
Good, except for the rations we had if we were out in the field. Then you had K rations, which was concentrated, and then you had C rations. Now these guys are living like kings. They got meals ready to eat. Because you break a little thing in there, a little heater, and you get meals cooked. Not me, but it was something.
Better than nothing?
Oh yeah.
So the all of your entire wartime service was in Europe from D-Day onward to VE Day.
Fortunately, being in the artillery, we were a little bit behind the line, and we were good. I know it's bragging, but we were good. Here they come around that one bend, and they're crawling up, working. Then the command comes down. Everyone on my command now, ready, fire, bang, and then you see trucks go up in the air, and tanks were pushing along. Tried that twice, and then they quit. They withdrew. So we kept everything. We kept the door open, because that was the Battle of the Bulge. They had to run out, hold it open until they were gone. Then we could go.
Well, where were you when the Battle of the Bulge began?
I was in Germany. Yeah, and then we retreated back to Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we were until we got relieved. We held the line. That's called holding the line.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't make any forward movement because we didn't know what our support was going to be. And we used our guns. They were called rifles. There's two types of guns, howitzers and there's rifles. We were rifles, fortunately. We could fire in the front of a tank, and that round would come out the back. You beat that? But we didn't. We'd fire out the tracks, blow the tracks off the tank, and it's helpless.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had all that while we practiced. We had a bunch come from Montgomery's 8th Army. And the last time we went in, before we really went into action, and they ran out this track full of, what, 2 or 3 simulated tanks. Bang, we shot at the tracks and blew them off, and the vehicles are just on the they couldn't move. So they tried that once or twice, and that was the end of it there. And the colonel was out there, and he come on. He usually didn't say much. Well done, guys. Well done. That was the end. So we all went in and got drunk in L.A.
Now, can you tell me about the weather during the Battle of the Bulge? What do you remember about that?
Not good. Not good. It was cold. You couldn't keep warm. A lot of guys, they didn't keep an extra socks. I would keep my socks a roll underneath each armpit. Now, when they got a little soaked, I took them off and put on the other ones. I put them under my armpit again to keep them kind of. Other guys, if they didn't do that, they got trench foot and their toes cut off, sometimes their feet. But we were trained in it. I don't know what they were thinking of. And we tried to do the right thing, and we did, and we got out of it. And I've got everything here, except that I'm in this now. But
So you managed to avoid getting trench foot.
huh?
You managed to avoid getting trench foot.
Yes, I did.
Let's see. Besides being when you were in the artillery, how much combat did you see while you were in the artillery?
Constantly.
Constantly.
Because we had a triple threat gun. All we had to do was put in another gear, and we were anti-aircraft. So if they tried to strafe us, they took their life in their hands. We'd shoot them down. Then we had regular, and never singly, always with the brigade. And a brigade is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, at least a half a dozen, 6 to 10 men. Yeah, and then we just shout on command, brigade, my command, fire! And boom, every gun would go off at one time. We drop a boom right on the Germans. We captured a few. One guy asked me, he says, "What are you guys using?" "What do you mean?" "I've been on the Russian front. We never had such artillery fire." And they were noted for that. I said, "What?" He says, "All we can do when you guys open up was grab our behind and run like hell." So we knew we did right.
Did you get any time away from the front line? Did you get to go back and
Yeah, they had to pull us out. They had to pull us out after. If you were in the front, if you were in there, it's missions. That's your fault, missions. I think it was a total of, if you fought six missions, that's exposing yourself a lot. You did well. Some guys never made it. And then the guys that are flying, worse yet, they had to fly 25 before they could be relieved. It was a rough game. Not fair, but that's the way it was. If you wanted to cry in your beer, they had that too. So we weathered the storm, and here I am.
Did you get to visit Paris or go back to London for any of your time off?
Going back to London was a tricky job. when you were on extended fighting, they found out how many missions you fought. You know, just like the Air Corps when they flew so many. And then they gave us 3-day passes. We could go into London and let it all hang out. Their talk was, because we had the bucks, and we would not be afraid to spend it. Trouble with the Yanks, they're oversexed, overpaid, and over here.
You weren't afraid to go back to the front lines without any money in your pocket then?
Yeah. Oh no, you didn't want any money. It's like what we had with what they called invasion money. It was all right there in Europe, but not when you're out of the, because they had a lot of con artists buying up all that money and then trading it in after the war for the full value and cheating the GIs. So finally they got the Army Secret Service on the wall, and they ran these con artists out of there. They were cheating the guys out of their rightful money. Of course, the guys lost it quick enough. I did. One night, we were at Camp Kilmer. We were playing poker, and I lost $300. Oh, Jesus. So the next night, we get the same thing, Camp Kilmer. They finally got a $20 stipend. I made recruit all my losses. And I said, oh, I'm even, okay. I'm out of it, boys. You can't quit now. I said, yes, I can. Watch me. Yeah, I have fond memories, and I have others that aren't so good.
Mm-hmm. What did you, how did you feel seeing that sort of destruction during the war and the casualties?
It was a shame. Those poor people. I have the utmost respect for two countries, Holland and Belgium. They took hell, and yet they called us their saviors. They said, when you come back, we'll hug you and kiss you, because you liberated us from the German army. The Germans just didn't know how to treat occupied people. They suspected something, the top of the one I'm going to tell you, the first one they get a bunch of guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, at random, line them up, bang, shoot them dead. And then they took the one that finally broke the back. They put the women and children in a church. They put these poor people in a church, shot all the men at Ordre sur Blanc, and they set the church on fire. Believe me, we never took another prisoner. Maybe we were wrong. Imagine that. Women and children. We lost our charity. Better not run into the 127, you're going to have trouble. Well, I still tear up when I talk about that. Imagine that. Ordre sur Blanc. The French government to this day have a monument there proclaiming what happened in that. I don't know if they put those. That was a war crime. Mm-hmm. Somebody said they're going to be put on trial. I don't know if they did. They put a lot of them on trial. which they needed. That was beyond war. Killing helpless women and children. Boy. A lot for a 19-year-old, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You grow up fast.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Among the men that you served with, what kinds of friendships and camaraderie did you form while serving?
I still have friends to this day, and they're forged in iron. Hey, when you're on the front line, and the guy next to you is in charge of you, and you're in charge of him, that's friendship.
And you still keep in contact with,
Oh, yeah.
with them?
Oh yeah, we're all getting old. Like this, I'm in a wheelchair. And we had reunions for 27 years. What an outfit. I loved them. Every one of them.
Are there any guys that stick?
And you know, the Belgian and Dutch people, anytime you come over, we'll hug you and kiss you because you're the best we've ever encountered. That was enough for me.
Mm-hmm. Of your friends that you made in the Army, are there any that stick out in your memory in particular?
Well, most of the guys were like me. When you're in direct conflict, maybe if we weren't in so much conflict, but we were anxious to get home. Some guys stayed in, and they became what they call a lifer.
Mm-hmm.
That's it used to be 30 years. Now, then they shortened it to 25. Then you got a pension and whatever. But I wanted home. I had enough of it.
While you were in the Army, how did you stay in contact with friends and family back home?
Oh, they were great. They were always sending me a letter saying they want to wish you, God bless you, and we just said a prayer for you. And they were very kind to us. When they could, they would send a box of goodies, mostly stuff that wouldn't be perishable.
Mm-hmm.
Hard salami and stuff like that, you know. And it was welcome. It was better than, you know, Army food wasn't that good, wasn't that bad. It was just, sea rations weren't too bad. Now, the guys got what they call meals ready to eat.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite an improvement to what we had.
How often would you write home?
Whenever I had a chance, because they wanted to be kept in touch. I'd be down there out by a bonfire trying to write, and I got enough of it. I never did send. They used to have a real short little thing, V-mail. It was called V-mail. That wasn't enough room, so I just used pencil and paper.
Was the V-mail the kind where you could check the box like I'm okay, you know, and sort of just
Oh, yeah,
write a
I
little,
always said-
like a note or
But
two?
you know,
like
if they found out there was somebody that complained, I found out one of the officers said I was put on the duty and I hated it. They would censor it. But they didn't have to worry. I didn't want to put them through that. Lieutenant Jalbert, Lieutenant Liston, they were wonderful men. And then we had a big hike, and my squad, I was just corporal. We helped the guys that were in the kitchen. And I carried this one guy's rifle, and it was a 25 miles. And I had another guy carry some of his pack and everything. That was 20 miles. It wound up being 30. So Sergeant Dano, he was in charge of the mess. He says, when you get the next, come up for a mess, don't have them form the line. You come and see me. Did we eat like kings? Because we saved him. He was a nice guy. I had good members of my outfit. Of course, afterwards I heard they didn't rotate units like mine, en masse. They just individual. They would send him home for leave. It wasn't the same. You don't have that same camaraderie. When you're under a group, it's different. And when you're by yourself, you're by yourself. That was the wrong thing to do. They should have kept the old army. Because that's how you're cohesive. And without that, you don't have an army. They had to take a long time for them to learn that.
Now, when you rode home to your family, did they know where you were at, or did they just have like a general idea?
We're not supposed to say, but my dad, you couldn't fool him. He was in the First World War. So he knew. He could read between the lines. He said, oh, Jack is in it. How do you know? He didn't say. He knew I was in it. And the Battle of the Bulge, the biggie. 3 times they come in. Oh boy, that was something. Tiger tanks. Monsters. And we had and that was something else because that snow was packed. Shoot and scoot. Because if you didn't, we got a barrage coming down on us. So when you shot your mission, you put it in a march order, and you ran like hell to another spot. If not, you're history. And that didn't last long, fortunately.
When you did have a little bit of time off the front or where you weren't in combat, what would you do for recreation?
Well, if we were across and they could do it, because we were pretty much in control, pretty well deep into Germany, we could go back to London, and there we would spend have a 3-day pass in London. And I remember we were in the Red Cross barracks for GIs on leave, right next to Hyde Park. And I would get on one of their trams along with a buddy, and we'd meet some girls in Hyde Park. On our way to going to London, there was 2 other girls. Are you Yanks still busy? We could have had 2 others. So that was a good time. I forget the name. Edgeworth was the name of the suburb. Now we did go out with them, had a lot of fun. And Edgeworth they lived in like a suburb.
Okay.
So it was good and some parts weren't. The way the Army life goes.
Now, when you were in Germany, did you meet any civilians there, or was that strictly forbidden to meet the civilians that were behind the lines?
Well, for a while we had the Hitler Jugend. And they had a nasty little idea, because we used to drive with the windshield down. The Jeep and a 3/4 ton truck. They would string piano wires from one tree to another at a header. You drive through that, bang, you're beheaded. But we fixed that. We put a cutter on the front of the Jeep and the 3/4 ton with a blade that would cut it. So that went to heck. They called themselves the werewolves. And if we caught them, oh boy, they got it. Here's a couple of werewolves. Hey, what did you say happened? I said, well, they kind of resisted. But they kind of went to the hospital too. They were going to kill us with that, so we fixed them up.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rough deal. I mean, there was nothing nice about it. But they were going to kill us, so we just gave them a lesson. Don't monkey with the 127th.
Mm-hmm. Now, then towards the end of the war, you guarded the salt mines where the all the art treasures were kept by the Nazis. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
The buzz bombs?
Or no, the at Maersk. I'm sorry, and that was in Holland, correct? Where you guarded the looted treasure that was
Oh, Merkers.
yeah.
Yeah, I was put in charge of that. And where they had all the loot. And the Russians come down and they say, I said, halt. Okay, Merikansky. No, halt. They didn't. Bang, bang, bang. You shoot at me. I said, no, I didn't. I shoot over you. If I shoot at you, you dead. What do? I said, you go back and get a pass. And from General Eisenhower. It's called from Schaeff. Oh, okay. That was it. Then I get another one, the same thing. So I went back to the orderly room. When I finally met him, his name was he was a French Canadian and a wonderful guy, but it was. I said, Sarge, what are you doing to me? He said, what do you mean? I got all these characters. And I said, what am I going to do? I said, how come you're giving me all the crap details? Because I can trust you. End of story.
Did you know what you were guarding at the time, or were you just told to guard it?
Oh, yeah. In fact, they would take us into the... oh, jeez. We saw two films. One was called Why We Fight. And the other one, which caused a lot of guys to vomit and have seizures, was called The Result of Fraternizing with an Unknown Partner. And they showed guys with advanced stages of syphilis and all that. We called that the scary film. And it was a scary film. If you didn't go out of that like this, it was pretty rough. They showed you what it could be, the results of that, if you didn't. Well, what they wanted, finally you couldn't go out of a pass without you got a prophylactic, both chemical and which you wore. It was condoms. Mm-hmm. That saved a lot of guys from getting a terrible disease. And you had to show the condom to the guard that you had. You had to use it too. And that saved a lot of guys. You know, like, I don't need that. The heck you don't, because they didn't care. There was a lot of them that lost their virginity like me, but didn't lose their life. Mm-hmm.
So where were you when the war ended in Europe?
When the war ended?
Mm-hmm. Where were you at in Europe when you heard that Germany finally surrendered?
Let me see. Ludwigsburg. Far into Germany. Ludwigsburg. And to celebrate it, they brought a bunch of girls and we had a dance. It felt so good. to hold some feminine in our arms and go trip. That felt so good to have a woman in your hands, and we danced.
Were these nurses were these nurses that they brought in, or
We were waiting to go home because there was a point system.
Okay.
You had so many points you could go. And I could have went, but one guy said, listen, he says, in World War II, World War I, the last war, there was a flu epidemic. And it was a pandemic flu, and it was all over the world. Mm-hmm. But you want that shot to prevent it? I says, well, okay, wrong. All my buddies were going home, and I caught a touch of it. And I had to be in bed for 2 weeks. So I went home by myself. The only bad thing. But it was, I guess, a good thing because I prevented something that might have happened.
Mm-hmm. Were you worried about going to the Pacific at all at the end of the European?
They talked about it, but they knew that wasn't good. Here's a guy that's been on the line, done everything asked of him, and they're going to send him from one hot spot to another? No, they finally used their heads.
And then, how did you return home? Was it through England and then back?
Well, I was mustered out at Camp Kilmer. And we got our mustering out pay, and we spent the evening there. Then they got a bus, and after spending the night there in the morning, said, all guys going west, which was me. Here's the bus. I said, is this bus going to pass near Cleveland? Oh, yeah. So I hopped the bus. And then when they got Cleveland, the driver, he was very accommodating. I said, I lived on the east side. Oh, I know where that is. So he dropped me off in the motor pool for taxis and all that. And I got in this taxi, and he had the motor. When he saw I was a GI, he shut off put that little ticker that for. He said, "No, this is on me. You're a vet." Everything was on them. So my dad, when he hears that, the guy shut off his taxi, and they sat. My dad brings out a bottle of whiskey. So happy. Have a drink. I'll never forget that.
And how were you received by your friends and family once you got home?
Oh, my mother didn't want me to take my uniform. She was so proud of it, and I wanted to get out of it. When I get on a bus or that, your money's not good here. Or a taxi, your money's not good here. I said, Mom, I want to get this uniform off, because that was the key. But I'm proud of you. I said, I know you are, but I want to get it off.
How long did the free taxi rides and bus rides last for you then?
They went on it for quite a while, until most of them were home. Because everybody was so patriotic. And they knew what we went through, and they treated us royally. Everybody.
And how did you readjust to civilian life once you were back in Cleveland?
I had no trouble. Well, my brother Don was in the Navy, and he was fighting some civilians for a long time. I said, Don, you're in civilian life now. Forget about it. Finally, he listened. He thought, oh, God. And then they said, if you stay in, we'll give you a certificate of separation. What the heck is that? That's a separation. It's as good as a discharge. It is? If it's so good, why are you asking me? He said, well, that's just in case. Otherwise, forget. You get so much money extra. Some little bird. They're not going to give me anything for sitting. Sure enough. A little while later, the Korean War started. And I'd have been first in line. But I was a little bit too small. I served my, we used to say I served my hitch in hell. So, that was it.
So how old were you by the time Korea started? Probably in your, mid to late 20s, I guess?
I was 18 when I went in, 18, 19, 22. 22.
Okay.
I was in there 4 years. I had it up to here.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine. And how many of your former, or how many of your fellow veterans are you in contact with anymore? Are there
My comrades?
Yeah, your comrades. How many are there?
Quite a bit. We were close. 27 years. I never heard of anybody. We had a reunion at Williamsburg, and they had a flood, and we had a little get-together. The guys contributed what they could get, and the place where we were standing, I forget the name of the hotel, but we had our utility room, or what they call the conference room. Mm-hmm. And there was a light problem. So they brought us candles and all this, and these little light sticks. And the young people that were there come over and they found out, hey, we got some GIs right from Europe. So they all come in and they found out what they did, what we did. And they're coming up and I'm full of lipstick. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I heard. Made me feel good.
Do you belong to any veterans organizations now?
Oh yeah, Veterans of Foreign Wars, okay. VFW. I do that because they take care of the widows and orphans of the GIs. All you do is ask them, and they got facilities and handle that. A very good organization. Now, I guess the Legion, American Legion has the same, but I like the, you had to have overseas fighting duty. You had to actually be in a war to get the benefits that I got.
Okay. And after you got out of the military, what did you do? Did you go to work then, or
yes,
go back to
I
school?
tried to. I took got a machinery's handbook, and I studied, and I became a tool and die maker, and that was good. I had a lot of fun there.
And who did you work for?
No, and let me think about it. I.J. Schmidt, a German fellow. I.J. Schmidt, tool and die.
Would they make stuff for the local industry here? Like the steel companies
right,
and
it
auto
was this
shops?
private company.
Okay.
And I was treated well. And I graduated from just on the line, and the guy would leave, they would leave, and they'd say, If you have any trouble, see Jack. He'll straighten you out. I was what they called, no foreman, but they had what they called a lead man. That was it. So it made me feel good.
Okay.
I got an extra few bucks in my paycheck.
Mm-hmm. How long were you did the machinist job?
Let's see, I stayed there, and I stayed there an extra month. They hated to leave me. They hated me to leave. So I had a good time there too. They said, just don't worry about the work. Just take over when we're gone or something like that. A couple of the guys resented it, but I didn't care. I said, if you want the job, you can have it. Well, no, I said, then shut up.
So you retired from there then?
Hmm?
Did you retire from there?
Yes.
Okay. So the last part of these questions are sort of reflections about your military service. How did your wartime experiences affect your life?
My experience?
Yeah, how did your wartime experiences affect your
I
life?
might sound corny, but I was raised in a patriotic family. And the highest thing you can do as a citizen is protect your home and your country. Your country comes first. So maybe it's corny or whatever. That's the way I felt. I felt it was a duty. I completed my active duty, and I try to complete the duty I encountered at home.
Mm-hmm. And what are some life lessons you learned while in the military?
Don't gripe. Don't bellyache. Try to solve. Do your job. Keep your mouth shut. And it'll work out.
Sounds like
Nobody
good
likes
advice.
a whiner.
That's true. That goes for anybody, huh? And I think you've touched on this before, but has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
It's easy to say, we don't want war. Great. But the cemetery of history shows you countries that were overrun, taken over by people that lost their sense of duty. And I live by that. You've got an obligation of serving and helping your country. That might sound corny, but that's my... And I did.
Mm-hmm. And is there any message you would like to leave for anybody in the future who may see or hear this interview?
Consider the service a blessing for you. You'll learn more than you'll ever think about. It's not something, somebody told me, one of my friends, oh, it's not like you were. No, it's not like we were. Maybe not. But if you're in the service and trying to get along, that will help you out in civilian life. You'll learn to solve problems yourself. You'll learn to keep your mouth shut when it should be, your ears and eyes open. It helped me. I'm not belly aching.
And is there anything you feel that we haven't discussed that you would like to mention now?
No, you covered it very well.
Jack?
You can overdo.
Yeah. Why don't you mention about the liberation of the concentration camp?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Don't bring me over that.
I know, but I think it's
There
important.
was a lot of, and I used to get in the fights, a lot to do about these concentration camps. Those poor Jews, my God, they were so abused. They actually got sick when they started giving them, we couldn't give them rations. Then we went through, some of the furnaces were still hot. I actually cried. I went down like this thing. Other people did this to these poor people. Just because they were a Jew or something like that. That's terrible. Racism. Yeah, that didn't go over with me. But I did my duty. I'm proud of it, and that's about it.
Do you remember what camp you helped to liberate? Do you remember the name of the camp you helped to liberate?
Yes. Yes, I do, if I can reset it. Buchenwald. Terrible camp. They were kissing my feet and everything after we liberated it. Welcome, gentlemen, to Buchenwald. I said, listen, you shut your mouth, you get up, and you go over there, and that's where I point. And I had my sidearm, I pulled it out, I said, one more word from you. And a tear was going, and he knew us. And you're going to say something, and I'm going to get mad, and I'm going to shoot you. And we're both going to be in trouble.
Was this one of the camp guards?
Yeah, he was I saw that lightning bolt on his collar. They wore a black uniform, they had that light, and they were SOBs. No use for them. None. They're the ones that did all the dirty work. Fortunes of war made me your prisoner. I said, get over there, you lousy. It still gets me when I think of that. Imagine that nerve. Torture those people. And they talk to me like a... I said, you're not a human being. And he was going to say something. He saw my head on my sidearm, and he shut his mouth. Boy, oh boy.
Were they just there sort of matter-of-factly, like, here you've won and here we are? They weren't trying to, they didn't run away, or they didn't try to...
That was the other one, not us. We were, after we saw that...
No, I meant the SS. Were they sort of there just like...
They wanted to...
They were here...
They wanted to assimilate into the... in the general population. And we wanted to try them as war criminals, which we did. You could tell the SS, they're too well fed, everybody else isn't. Oh, they were lousy.
And the prisoners pointed them out right away, didn't they?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. A lot of them adopted the prisoners. Out you go, out you go. So we helped get their justice that they deserved. Imagine doing that to people.
No, I can't.
So I saw the bitter, and I did my part to clean house. So you find there's a lot of people in this world, and they're all not nice. But that SS, no.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we...
You covered that pretty well.
Okay.
Covered it.
Well, thank you. Once again, I'm Chad Stotler with the Westlake Porter Public Library, and this is Jack Cesear, and his nephew Dominic Straffolano was here during the interview also. Jack, I'd like to thank you for taking time to
I'm fine.
do this interview. Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure meeting you.
No, thank you.